What's up, folks? I'm back with another reaction, back with some more Duran Duran, and we're going back to their 2004 album Astronaut. The next tune in the list is Taste the Summer. It's interesting, when I saw the title, it instantly made me think of like synesthesia, the way for some people particular types of sensory stimuli is sort of cross-linked with other types of cognitions, such that they'll sort of like feel different colors, or certain numbers will have one type of color and a different number will have a different type of color, or they could sort of see different types of sounds. So yeah, there are people who actually have, as a cognitive state in their brain, cross-reference sort of sensory experience. But even for people who don't have that, right? Like, summer, taste the summer, it could speak to, people's understanding of, food and memory and so on, such that, the taste the summer for one person could relate to, the smell of barbecue and the memories of eating it with their family and friends. Other people, it could be like eating a watermelon or a popsicle or so on. And even if it doesn't have to do with food, the idea that like summer could have like a flavor or a sort of like a taste that speaks to the type of experiences that you have. And obviously summer doesn't have to be literal either. It could speak to a period in your life when you felt the warmth of the sun, or perhaps you had fewer responsibilities that you did at other times in your life. So yeah, like both sides of the expression could be more metaphorical or more literal, but to me it just speaks to the way that our brains will, even if you don't have synesthesia, they will cross-reference things, right? So that like certain smells, certain sounds, certain tastes will indeed recall certain places that you've been, certain restaurants you've eaten at, the people that you were with when you were at these places. The experiences and the processes you were involved in when a particular flavor or sound or sensation happened regularly. So again, even for those without synesthesia, we do end up cross-referencing these things in our brain, which now makes me think of the Devil's Track, Memory Palace, where I was talking about that, because adapting, or not adapting, but extending or extrapolating the sort of brain's natural ability, or disposition rather, toward cross-referencing different types of phenomena, like emotions and memories with certain smells and so on. Our propensity for that leads some people to say, okay, well now I'm going to take this piece of information and I'm going to cross-reference it from this physical location, like my visual image of this physical location. So now if I just think of that place, if I remember what that place looks like, oh wait, that makes me remember because of the way that our electrochemical brains work. They're like, oh wait, there's that piece of information. I went looking for it in that place and I found it. So yeah, my brain, I think, is a little too scatterbrained to use it, but I do, I dabble with it a little bit, and ultimately I do very much understand the way that, like, I'll think of an intersection, say, that like in a city that I used to live in, and boom, all at once comes flooding back memories of people that I hung out with when I was there, responsibilities that I had. If it's up by Fullerton, it makes me think of everything that went on in, my grad school days and so on, and it's just from seeing in my brain like a visual image of like a street intersection, like a location near where these things were happening. So my brain it definitely does it, but I think it's less like willful and more just like, I'm not really in control of it. But yeah, bottom line, that's what I think of when I think of Taste the Summer. I think of a cross-referencing of different types of phenomena in the brain, whether they be memory, emotional experience, or particular understandings of people and places and so on. So yeah, we'll see if summer is more metaphorical or figurative. We'll see if taste is more metaphorical or figurative, or literal on the other side. I'm guessing, we're not going to be talking about eating watermelons or barbecue necessarily, but yeah, I do think we might be talking about the way that different types of experience sort of meld into like one type of cognitive process. Regardless, I will stop talking and we will listen to it. This is Duran Duran from the 2004 album Astronaut, and the track is Taste the Summer. Feels like we might be kind of like doing a more dancey kind of electronic-y tune. I was like, that sounds quiet. definitely don't seem to be talking about actual food here. Synth work sounds like acid. Sounds like a 303. Images and like experiences of summertime. Staying up late, like, you know, it's warm outside so you can watch the stars and so on. I like this. Bass standing out.
Just where it's blowing, so fresh from your lips is born the melody.
We got our little dance part after all. Because that it sounded like house at the beginning. Duran doing doo-doo, like, you're inclined to think of some of the classics. I feel like taste is more metaphorical, summer may be more literal. The way that ended a lot. That was a cool end. I also enjoyed his vocals, especially, you know, like the beginning of the verses. He'd come in sort of like loud and sort of extended in that first line each time. I did enjoy that. So yeah, lyrically, you know, I gotta give it a couple more listens, but like I said, I feel like the summer felt more literal, and the taste felt more metaphorical and figurative, and seemed, at least in one respect, to relate to maybe intimacy with somebody. So yeah, bottom line, I enjoyed the tune. It had a mixture of, again, a bit of a dance feel, not as much as I felt like in the first like 5 to 10 seconds, but it did have that later part where it was like proper house for, I don't know, like 10, 12 seconds. But yeah, overall it felt like a mixture of kind of an electronic sort of dance style with like a synth rock kind of feel. So, and again, there was a little guitar layer. I didn't mention it in the beginning because there was some other stuff going on that I was like, every time I went to say something, I was like, oh wait, I'm noticing that. But yeah, it was just kind of this little rhythmic sort of guitar line, nothing too big and flashy, but I thought it worked well. It just gives a little more substance to the tune and a bit more like character to the rhythmic procession of the tune. So yeah, I enjoyed that, and as I said, shout out to Simon for the vocals. Yeah, let me know what you think of this one. Moving along in the album, we'll look it up real quick. We'll see what will be the next track that we come back with when we come back to this album. I apologize, I should have had this out, but yeah, so the next track that we listen to will be Finest Hour. I'm intrigued by the title. It's obviously a phrase that's used in certain literary context. But yeah, so far I'm enjoying the album. It's interesting to think about, just because, as I mentioned, when I started doing the reactions to Astronaut, you know, I'm conscious this is like all the Taylors coming back, but I know that even as this album, like in the tour, were playing out, that like there were creative differences between Andy and basically all the rest of the guys. So yeah, I'm just thinking about it in terms of you know, I know that part of why he left is he felt like the next record they tried to work on, he thought that the rest of the group kind of rushed it into production because maybe they were getting pressure from Sony or whatever. So yeah, I am thinking about, like, you know, is this album going to have more of a rock sound, or is it, you know, part of the fact that he didn't like it is, or not didn't like it, but that eventually, you know, there were differences between them because, you know, he maybe wanted it to have a slightly different sound, or the material that they were doing at this time more generally. So yeah, I'm sort of thinking about these things as we go through the album. But yeah, do let me know what you think of this one. Let me know if you have any thoughts in particular before we get to Finest Hour. Other than that, I will see you next time. Peace.